Hello and welcome to Flooring Models. For this particular build, we're going to be building, well, not this, but we are going to be building something a lot bigger. Now, one of the big problems is that obviously Bandai do a great range of Star Wars ships, mainly 1/72 scale. And if you go back a little bit in time, there is some of the old ones floating around as well when they're in more 1/48 scale and stuff. But they're getting very, very difficult to find and all the rest of it. But 3D printing has come along and has basically brought us a great way of doing it all. So when I was going around a few months ago, I found this. So this is over on CG Trader, all right. And again, this is technically a 1/18 scale Y-wing. So it's 3D printed, it's in various components and all the rest of it. And it's one of these ones where you do a little bit of homework on this, you do a little bit of research onto it. But the guy who did this, which is Chris Bibby, he's an absolute gem at this and does some really good ones. So to be honest, I've got a few bits of his work already. I've got an A-wing and I've got a B-wing. And I thought, well, we might as well go the whole hog and get the Y-wing. And now you can actually get it as a jumbo combo set. So it'll cost you $30 for the license to actually print it off and all the rest of it. And what you actually get is this particular beast. Now the photos, to be honest, don't really do this thing justice because it's all very dark and light. But you can do LED lighting and go right the way through. But you can see it's an absolute friggin' monster. But the detail is certainly all there and everything that we would need. Plus the fact, don't forget, we're modelers. We can do more scratch detailing to this ones and add a little bit more as we wanted to. But as you can see, generally it's very, very nice all the way through. Got some good plans, some good drawings of it all going together. Some really nice artwork as well. So we can work out, especially things like the plumbing going in there and stuff like that. All right. But the great thing about 3D printing is you can do it in any scale you want. So you can downscale it, you can upscale it, you can make it as big as you like, or technically make it as small as you like. So in theory, straight off the bat, I think this thing's around about 1/72 scale. But the plan of action for me is to blow this up to have it around about a 2-foot model. So roughly it's going to be about the same size as my cutting mat in front of me, which I think is a nice size for this. If it works really well, I might then upgrade it and we get something a little bit bigger. So we might actually do something, you know, around about 400% bigger, which will make it 1/18 scale as well, which you've seen in those pictures. So the big thing is what we need to do first of all is obviously get the file, get it down, get it onto the computer, resize it, rescale it, and then obviously get it onto a print bed, and then obviously get it all 3D printed. So that's how we go. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got it up in our little program. So we've downloaded all the separate files and you can see them all just here. And they all look pretty darn good. You've got all the shapes you could need and all the details and everything. And you can roughly have a look around it now and see exactly how you're going to go about it. Now we need to make this thing around about 200% bigger to what it is at the moment, which will give us roughly around about a 2-foot model. All right. So I'm thinking what we can do is we can literally just slip through, have a look at the various parts and see what's going to fit onto our print bed. Now, luckily for us, we use a little bit of software called Chitubox, which hopefully you can see right here. All right. And this then basically puts it into a program, which then puts it onto the bed and does all the technical stuff and works it all out for you. So it will position it, it will sort it all out. But again, this is 3D printing. You might have to tweak it. You might have to sort of maneuver things. You might get failed prints. You might have trouble with it and all the rest of it. So what I'm going to do now is basically get it all sorted out, get it into the position, and then we can start printing these things off. Now printing is going to take a good couple of days to get all of this printed, and again I'm expecting some failures and having to do some bits again. But the great thing about 3D printing, if you do get a failure, you haven't got to do all of it again. You can just print that one component or the one part that's broken, or if you've got a few from different beds and things like that you've been using, just put them all in one little file and reprint that exact file, which is probably what we're going to have to do in this build anyway. So anyway, as you can see, this shows them all on the bed, all ready to be printed. And then I've taken some photos, which you can see here, of it actually all done and printed on the bed. So up next, what we've got to do is get all the parts cleaned up, get them all checked and see what we got. Okay, so what we're doing now is after the print's done, is cleaning up all the parts, of which there is lots of them. Not too many. It's not like doing a normal sort of styrene kit where you're going to remove all the parts from the sprue, because there isn't quite as many as. But what you do want to do is just keep an eye on different groups. So what I'm doing down in here, we've got the main fuselage, we've got the wingy bits, we've got the engines. So I'm just keeping an eye that we've got all the bits for one. And secondly, we haven't got any mismolds. So first of all, getting the parts off the sprue. To be honest, it's a lot easier than you might think. So sometimes you get ones like this that look quite complicated and you think, ah, right, okay. The only thing you do have to watch out for, this is a sci-fi model, so some of these may be genuine pipes and some of them is obviously going to be some of that support structure, all right? So the easiest way is just to come in and start to peel away. And you notice it comes off quite cleanly. Then come from the back side, as I always do, click forward, all right? And then this will give you an idea of which ones are supposed to be here and which ones are not. But you can see it comes off quite cleanly. Now, I've already secured all these parts before, so they're quite hard and crispy. I know some people like to do it before or after. You can take your pick which way you go through with it. But there we go. That's those all off now, looking very nice. And some of the others are really straightforward. So we've got this little cylinder. You can sometimes come in and it pops off in one. And you can see, because we're using the actual support structures itself, you can see how fine they are. So it leaves really nothing behind. And normally just a rub with your finger is enough to clean up the part just like that. But if you want to do, just come in with a fine sander, a very, very light rub, and that part now is ready to use. All right. And again, some of them can be, you know, quite intricate, like this one down in here. We've got the support structure on the outside side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop those all off first and we'll get those out of the way. Then we've got the major ones in here. And again, you can see it comes off. And again, got a little bit in there, but again, just a rub with your finger normally takes care. But you might notice that this classic example here, it's got little tiny spiky bits here. This is the feet that were coming off of it. So we're just going to square those all off. So again, we just come in with a sander and we're just going to square them out. And again, part then is ready to use. So you can see nice areas with those. And again, some of the other ones you just got to be a little bit careful. So we've got this one down in here. This is the legs. These are the ones that are going to wrap around the top of the fuel. All right, and they just literally pop off. Okay, so again, which other ones we got? We got this one down in here, and it's almost in one piece. So we got a join down in here. So we're just going to break off that section. We look for the areas which have got supports running up to it. So this has got supports running up here as well. So we're going to take all the support structures right the way off of it. And then, hopefully, that one can come in. And I think this down in here is a little bit of support structures. So you can just use your side cutters. There we go. Gets rid of them. And again, really nice part all ready to go. And again, you get this one just down in here. It's got support structures coming up, but again, be careful because some of these might be piping and we don't want to break the piping off. Other times it might be just a straightforward job like that. So again, that's in there, and then we can come off the bottom. And again, looking very nice, no problem with that at all. We've got another one just down in here for the other side on the other engine. So again, and then this is a good example. So you can see here, we've got this one in here. This isn't a pipe, that's actually one of the supports, but it's attached itself because it's so close to the actual main bit itself. So you come along with your cutters, you can usually cut your way up just like that. And then once it's in there, have a very light sand, just to take care of the line it's made running up there. All right, then if you use like a polisher, these ones you can make it absolutely perfect. And it's like it's not there then. Again, this is resin, so it's really easy to sort of work with. It's quite straightforward. And then sometimes you get quite complex shapes like this one here. All right, and it's got lots and lots of supports because it's quite complex. So you just want to be careful how you get this off because it won't give that easy. All right, so what we're going to do is just going to gently, like peeling an egg, just get it off. All right, and then again, because it's got quite some nice supports down in here again, and again it's just a little bit soft because it's on the facing edge. So we're just going to come in, just square it up just a little bit. And again, this isn't exact science. This isn't a an injection molded kit, and because it's resin, sometimes it warps, sometimes it sinks, sometimes anything can happen to it. So that's pretty darn good. Then you've got ones which are quite complex, like this guy down in here. It's got support. So this is if we're going to do the actual canopy closed in one, or we have got an option to do open. So we've got these support structures running just down in here. So again, we're just going to pop those off, and then just going to be very careful and that's our canopy in one. Now, to be honest with you, you do have to be careful because I have got where it's got a two-piece canopy and I've managed to snap off this bit across here, and we have got it and glue it in, or you could just 3D print another one, which is, to be honest, probably what I'm going to do. All right, so we have got that canopy just like that. So other things to watch out for is, well, we've got the gun, but for the moment, because I want to keep it nice, I'm going to leave it on its supports because it might be easy to paint it. But other bits as well, little tiny ones, they come away, as you can see, very, very easily. And then last up, we've got our very own R2 unit. So again, not sure, there you go, he's going to pop off easier than I thought. So again, he's got a couple of lumps and bumps he's supposed to have, but generally he is all there, so that's very nice. But it doesn't always go according to plan. So you can see down in here, these have got really strong little legs, and what it is, it's because it's printing it up. And what's happened on one of them, it's failed and it's beginning to droop. So this was probably printing downwards, so obviously it would have been facing downwards, and then something's happened with the weight of it and it's began to move. But the great thing about all of these is, this isn't a problem, because one, you could just make a new one, it's quite straightforward, it's only one of these. But if you wanted to, you could actually now just print one. All right, so you could actually just find the file for it individually, find that part and just print that one bit. And what I'll probably end up doing, to be honest, is on here we've got a couple of bits which, you know, like that canopy, front canopy, we could reprint that one, we could reprint this one, so we can take all of those each individual parts now and just do a small little bed and print some more. And again, if something went completely wrong, then obviously we could take our time and say, right, okay, perhaps we do want to print it again. This stuff is quite easy to work with. A fine sander is better than a hard sander, and if you've got a polishing one, you can then polish it all up like new. And again, you've got a little bit of wastage here. All right, all of this stuff, but again, it's no different from if you had a sprue, you know, your sprues. This is literally your sprue, all right? The rest of it, though, all looks very, very nice, and it looks like we've got it all here as well, which is the other thing, because when you're printing it, you've got tablefuls of it, and it's all on the printer. You're not quite sure, have I got all of it? Is it all here? I think we're okay. I think we have got it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check over the parts, make sure we're all good. I'm going to identify the ones we're going to have to do again, because obviously we can set the printer up and get that going off and doing those. Then we can identify what sections are what, and we can do it. So we know for a fact I've got over here the main fuselage, we've got engine sections, but we need to work out what's the cockpit, what's the other bits and pieces. So we've got all of those to hand. That way we can put them all off to one side and build as you would a normal model as well up. It's not going to take tons of time because we've got it down in here. I'm not going to mess around with this one too much either, so I'm not going to be going in with lighting and all of this. This is really a test case to see exactly. This is the first one that I've printed and I've done as a whole, so it'd be interesting. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of all this stuff, the horrible junk, get rid of that, clean all this down, get these sorted out into various bags maybe, so I know what areas we're working with, and then once we've got it like that, we can start to get it together. Okay, so down in front of us we can see we have the various bits laid out here just for the front end. So this is actually just for the actual cockpit area of the actual Y-wing like this. The instructions, to be honest with you, are, well, basic, shall we say. In fact, incredibly basic. So the cockpit area itself, I just find it, there we go, is literally that. All right, so as you can see, there's not a great deal to it, as in detail and all the rest of it, but the whole point is you can detail it up as more if you want to, and go right the way through. So basically it's talking about, as you can see, literally just, you've got a forward area in here, it's going to go on, we've got a little bit of an instrument panel cover, that's going to go on and drop onto here, come through a rear, the seat, and the bed at the back. And when you look at the parts as they are on here, there we go, this is the bits we're talking about. So this is that rear bed, which, to be honest, looks a little bit like engine parts down in there and all the rest of it, so some nice detail. Then we've actually got the cockpit tub, and you might notice it's actually got holes all pre-done in here as well. So if you did want to LED light it, you could just bring the lights up through here, LED, and do them. What we'll do is we're just going to come in with some simple colours and stuff like that. All right, so again with that, we've already glued the rear plate on, so that's just that rear plate going on. Then we've got the forward one, which is going to come in on here. And again, you've got some small mouldings each side, just to have a bit of a thing with that. So that's going to come in like this. All right. And then again, we've got the seat, which is quite basic, but you know, it's all we really need for that. So that's going to pop in. And then down in here, we have got a little area for the instrument panel. So this is going to fit, I do believe this one comes in here. And you've got a little side bit down in here for that. All right, and then that one's going to come in and literally is just going to come in through like that. All right, so it's just going to fit in there. So again, all of it fits very, very nicely as this goes through. All right, so again, once this instrument combing is on the top down in here, and you've got the one underneath, and again, it's all lit up, so you could do it if you wanted to for lighting and all the rest of it. What we're probably going to do is pop a little bit of acetate just on the back of this, just to sort of show it through and stuff. All right, so again, it is literally that simple. So on here, this area is just going to go onto the back, and for this type of work, we're just literally going to use plain old-fashioned super glue. All right, so again, I have got 3-minute bond, and I've got heavy duty stuff as well, which would use on some of the bigger bits, but this stuff isn't structural, so to speak. It is literally just going to sit in. So that can just come in like this. And again, I don't really use kicker unless you absolutely have to, because I think it'll be fine just as that is. And again, we just check our lines and make sure we're all good. And there we go. So that is in there just like that. So that's our rear. And if we wanted to, we could come in now and we can just glue our front on. All right, that goes through. And again, when you look at the model, which I'm using as my references, because I know it's probably the most accurate, all right, for this. Again, all we'll do is very similar to how we've done in here. So we're going to do it all black, and then we're just going to come in literally with a metalizer and try and rub right the way over it. Then we'll pick out the details. All right. So again, that's exactly how we're going to follow this side with this one. All right. So literally that's going to be that one coming together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop glue that lot together. Then we're going to come in, we're going to dry brush right the way, paint it, and we can dry brush right the way over it. We can do the seat, and we can get the seat installed for it. And if you wanted to, you could go out and you can get figures for it as well. So you can actually get pilots and 3D print those and do it. For the moment, I'm not going to worry about that one at all. At the same time, we've got the other pits all laid out in here. So again, we've got an option. We've got a one-piece canopy, because you get 2 in the kit. All right, so you can do it, or you could easily cut this afterwards, or it's in 3-piece. So as you can see, this is the one we reprinted that front area again, right the way through. So that's fair enough and straightforward. You've got this little guy is for the top, and this will be the gun. I haven't taken it off the screws yet, so I don't want to break it. And then that will sit on the top. But these bits we'll definitely put on last. All right. And then obviously it's going to be a case of this tub will come up and it will sit up in here once this is all in and we've got it all installed. That probably just drop in the top. All right, so this will literally come in, and again, it's going to be a case of it touches. So again, so as you can see, that will all fit in there really very, very nicely like that. All right, so once that's in, and then obviously we've got to put the front section in as well. So this guy will come in once it's all in. So again, this probably needs to come back just a little bit, so we can just ease that back. And again, when you're 3D printing and you're sizing and scaling and stuff like that, just be mindful about getting things to fit on. What I want to tack in here is this, how this canopy is going to fit on. Because again, if we've got a problem with the height issues and things like that, but again, that actually looks pretty sweet to me. No problem with that at all. It's all lining up to the rear, the front's tucking in, so we're okay with that as well. So again, should be pretty straightforward with all of those. Maybe just a nudge. I just want to drop it down just a little bit, just so, yeah, there we go. That fits in there, snug and secure. All right, but again, we want to paint all of this, and I'll paint it separately from being in here. Again, we've actually got the blasters off of the front. These don't particularly fit that nice, so I don't want to force them. So I don't know if it's a scale issue or whatever, but we will take our time. But again, we will just make sure that they're in nice, and again, we're gonna have to make sure they're the correct length. So we want to see if they push in a little bit further or out a little bit. But you might find sometimes things just don't fit. Again, it's because we've rescaled it, and things don't rescale sometimes very well at all. Anyway, I'm going to push on. We're going to get this cockpit all painted off and then into here, and we can see what we've got. Okay, so as you can probably see by the dust that's around here, a little bit of sanding, a little bit of fettling, but to be honest, it's resin. So just remember, it is resin. Make sure you use obviously a damp cloth around to get rid of this stuff, but also make sure you've got obviously, you know, a bit of breathing apparatus on, a mask or whatever you want to use. All right. So as you can see, or hopefully you can see, we have got the cockpit installed now. So that is down in there. We've got the instrument panel in there. We haven't stuck this in yet because, to be honest, we need to put a little bit of acetate behind here to make a little bit of colour. But again, if you were to be coming in and doing something else, then you would. So there we go. That's installed. I had to take a little bit of height just out of here. Sand, as you can see on here. just off the front a little bit, so it didn't line up 100%, but the rest of it is all in there. Now the big crucial test for all of this when you're doing it is to do some test fitting. So again, if we just pop this one in here loosely for the moment, all right. So again, that just needs a little bit more fettling just to push that down totally. But then what we can do is we can do a canopy check. So we come along with the canopy and we place the canopy on, and the canopy is a perfect fit all the way round. So chances are we're going to glue ours in and it will be in there and done. But again, if you did want to, you could obviously have it in the 3-part as well. So we've got the 3-part, so we can do a quick test fit in there. And then again, we've got the midsection, which will fit in there. And then we've got the rear. So again, with this one, we could technically use all 3 if we wanted to, but all 3 fit down in there as well. So if you want to, I think this one's on a hinge, is it? I think it comes across, so you could have it in the open position if you wanted to. It does come with landing gear, this one as well, but the big test is to make sure that goes on, which it does. To be honest, it's a tight squeeze, and at the moment it's not glued, it's just holding itself. The back part's glued, but the rest of it isn't, all right? So because of that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue just down on these areas, just tack them into place like that. And again, we've got a little bit of kicker spreads it out, but also it sets it rock hard, and we are all good to go then. All right, again, we'll give this all a wash before we come in with painting. So that's done pretty good like that. Because we have got spare canopies as well, what you could do is use one as a temporary fit. So you could come along now, pop the canopy on this, black it all out, put masking tape on it, all the rest of it, and then we can paint the rest of it, and we all will be good. But actually, because it's a big and quite easy to use, I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem to do it. All right, so it's got holes in it like here. This is for wiring coming through. It's got big areas around it. Again, if you want to do wiring with lights and stuff, which I think we might do with version 2, we can do that. What we're going to look at next is obviously the reason why these don't fit. Is it because obviously they're just an awkward fit? To be honest, they do push in. They're starting to go in now. So maybe it just needs a little bit of reamer work just down in here to open those up. So we can give that a little bit of a test. I've got a big old reamer here, which I can give it a whirl with if I can find it. Cheers. So we've got great for resin because it doesn't make a total mess. But again, it's just enough to open up a little bit of holes without forcing the issue too much. Just mind those forward edges, and then again we can try with these. Yeah, okay, so that screws in there now. So if you wanted to, you could glue these in, but again, looking at our other one, we're seeing how far they go. Looks like they push in a lot further. So I might have to open up these a little bit more to drill these out, because actually it looks like, and again I'm going for reference off of this one, this outer barrel, this sort of shanked area here is where it roughly starts. So I'm thinking these probably need to go in around about full distance down into these. But again, you will find sometimes it's resin, it doesn't like. And the thing is, you don't want to just push these in, because if you warp these two here and they stress and they're going to have a bump, when you come to put the underside in, obviously you've got these nice big flat edges, they're not going to work. They're actually going to be out of alignment with each other. All right, so again, they're all little things you just need to think about when you're going through and doing these. All right, so again, we'll get that sorted and done. So again, little things. All right, little jobs. So I'm going to work out the size of these, which are, let's see if I've got a drill bit. So these are 5mm. Yeah, exactly 5mm. So I'm just going to get a 5mm drill bit, and we'll drill these out, and then hopefully we can fit these in with no issue then. Then we can glue those into position, because they're all going to be white and all the rest of it. And then actually we can button it up, so we can bring the bottom half and the two halves together, get them all in here. All right, get these buttoned up, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so we've got guns installed down into there. We can do a quick test fit on here. And you might notice I've sanded off just a little bit off the bottom here. It was touching, and what it was doing, it was just slightly rocking. You could have bent it, you know, squeeze these edges up together. But to be honest with you, I wanted it to be a nice, straightforward, nice, smooth fix on here. So again, we're just checking all over, making sure we got nice. And you might notice down in here, this is some of those areas, got a little tiny little bit of marks there. So again, we're just going to come in. We're just making sure all the mating surfaces are all completely flat. Two reasons. One, obviously it makes a nicer join, but also it gives a stronger fix. And if they're not, then obviously we could have a lot of trouble. All right, so we're both good. We're both fine on this side and on this side. And then we can come over and we can just pop these two together. And again, I think by the time we give it a little bit of a nudge, it should be absolutely fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of glue here and here. Obviously a bit across the front, down the sides, round to the edge. And again, because this is resin, we don't want it moving or doing anything, ideally. A few little drops just down in the middle. Little pushes off the front. Alright, and then we can just come in and we can hopefully sandwich without gluing your fingers together and getting it to bite too early, as it's doing already. We can get both halves in alignment. Again, if you've got a weaker super glue, one that doesn't bite instantly, that's definitely a bonus. Again, just mind your fingers as you're squishing it all together, because you don't want to super glue your fingers to anything. All right, so we're just going to hold that there and let that glue. To be honest, we might have to just do a little bit of work on the edges, but generally that is all pretty good. Again, just going to speed this up, tiny bit of kicker on here, purely so I don't glue my fingers to anything, and this all goes off a little bit quicker. Okay. It's all good. And again, a bit on the back, those areas. And there we go, that's our front end together. And again, just need a little bit of clean up. Obviously I've got some glue marks and stuff like that. You could do it a lot neater if you wanted to, but to be honest, the great thing about resin is that when you come in, we got a coarse sand here, but just light, we can just lightly sand down. So we're not going to go because I want to rip the detail off the sides here, but again, the great thing with super glue is we can take a little bit of super glue and we can just run it down in here, then we can take this dust and just rub it in and act as a filler as well. But we can pop all of this detail back in. Anything that we lose, we'll pop back in. So again, well, what we're going to do, just going to take a little bit of super glue just on that little corner, rub it in with my finger, take the dust over the top, and that will act as a filler. And we can just go right the way through. Again, just a little bit along here, tiny little bit here. Alright, so you're literally just going in, filling and going through as you like. And as you say, get the dust in here, you can see all these panel lines that are here. So again, just got to do a little tiny bit more here, but we'll switch over now to a finer sander. So we've just got a fine one, just for polishing in the details without going too desperately close. And then all we've got is these. That's actually really nice down here. So we've just got these little marks just here. Again, you can take a polisher, just polish these all up. There we go. Really very nice indeed. And again, these aren't gaps, these are super glue and it's solid. And that's what we'll do all the way along. And again, we can run a thin panel line just down in here, I think, which we'll do just to follow this one all the way through, just to complete that one. And again, we can do exactly the same on this side. So again, a little bit of super glue just in this top corner. Let it filter its way down. wipe the excess off, and then again coming in, nice bit of dust, let the dust fill. There we go. Works an absolute treat every single time. All right, and again, a little bit of a super glue mark there, so we just come along. And cleaning this stuff up really is this simple. There's no problem with this at all. All right, so we just come in, then we come in with a polisher. You know, in there. So really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up this little guy all the way through. We'll get rid of this dust and all the horrible stuff to it. And then obviously what we can do is paint up the inside down in here. We can do that cockpit, get that finished off. We'll get the seat into it and all the rest of it. And that completes the forward edge, apart from the bottom. So we've got to fix this little guy just down in here at the bottom. All right, so we'll get that one down in there. And then obviously we'll be good to go.